Where's my sheet? Do you have my sheet? This is mine. Where's yours at?
Can use one.
Okay, so this is delayed a minute. They delayed on Facebook, so we can switch to this one, and this is real time.
Oh, okay.
But we have to like, yeah. Fix my hair. See, that's up. You have to wait till the song's over. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Fishbowl Radio Network with Journey2Business Radio Show. I'm your host, Melissa Walker, and we're excited to have you on today listening to our show. Remember, this is a show of reciprocity, and we're focused on careers. You can call into the show anytime at 214-431-5032, or you can also send referrals in to our guests, or if you just have some information that you'd like to share, please feel free to send it. You can check it out at J2bradio.com. Again, it's www.j2bradio.com. This is a show where you can grow yourself, grow your career, or grow your business. As you know, we started our new series, which is how to find your best path to a career. And today's topic is going to be about resume writing. We have two very special guests with us today. Thank you for coming in.
No problem.
Okay. And these are two students, actually, correct, that are in college. We've got John and oh my gosh.
I'm hurt.
I know.
It's Sydney.
Sydney. Oh my gosh. I wanted to call you Catherine. I don't know why. Maybe you should have been a Catherine. I don't know.
Maybe.
Sydney and John. Sorry about that. And I've actually been working with you a lot, so I don't know what happened. It's a brain freeze.
You just remembered my last name, Smooch. It's okay.
Yep, Smooch. Okay, so we have our guest here today that have come to talk about their kind of where they're doing in their career path, what process they're in. And we're going to look at their resumes and help them kind of figure out how they can best put that together for clients. It's an opportunity for all of our listeners to understand a lot more about how you do a resume. Feel free, again, to call in and add any input or advice at 214-431-5032. So let's go ahead before we get into the resume part and start with you, Jean. If you can give us a little bit of an overview about who you are and what you're currently pursuing as far as your next career opportunity.
Okay. Yes, my name is Jean, as you said, and
you say it much better than I do. I want to say.
Yeah, it's a French name, so it's kind of hard for
Jean.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Jean. With a French name. Oh, so yeah. Right now I'm doing my career. I'm working at United Health Group.
Okay.
And I'm working in health management. So back in college, my background is I always did like something related to health. Like I went for pre-medicine in college, and I did business administration.
Okay.
So I got to put it together and get a health management job. And I always want to pursue something in health. But on the side, I really want to be my own person and become an entrepreneur.
Okay.
So that's the thing I'm really basically like working on right now and trying to make better and better.
Okay, well, we can definitely talk about that as well. So we can talk about your resume for the career part. We can also talk about how you actually get into the entrepreneur space and some things that you need to know. So good to hear. Sydney, tell us a little bit about you.
I'm a little bit of everything. So
Aren't we all?
True. But for right now, like I'm looking into fields of how would you say, healthcare. I love taking care of people. I love, making those connections. So it's trying to find a job that puts that love for being with people, but also with the passion of using my art side. So it could be marketing, it could be anywhere over the spectrum. It's right now, it's like where do I go?
So you're in like the fact finding stage.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
like, and you're researching it, and you're like, everybody's talking about side hustles. You're like, oh, I want one, but I don't know which one to choose. So it's just the fact of like where to go. Like, I'm already in the process of getting a CNA job. I have a certification, but it's like that's not where I want to be for the rest of my life. It's a good learning step, but you know,
Taking a step back, side hustle.
Yeah.
Explain that to me.
side hustle. Side hustle is like when you have your regular job, but then you also have a job on the side.
Okay.
So that's what we call a side hustle.
Okay.
So
now, is that where you do your art currently? Is that
yeah,
considered
so
a side hustle?
yeah,
or-
right now it's like I'm exploring my art. I'm exploring all different kinds of art shows, and you know, we've talked about it, like exactly where I want to go. I've looked at like me doing henna on hands. I'm telling you, anything like writing poetry for what is it?
Anything artistic, basically.
Anything, yes.
Yeah. So you're trying to figure out how you can best express that and make money off of it. I'm
And
assuming.
be happy in the
Yeah.
fact of I do what I love to do, but I'm still making money.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'm excited to work with you both today. So let's talk a little bit more. I'm going to come back to you, but I'm going to go back over to Jean for a little bit. So let's talk a little bit about where you are in your current career and what steps you've been taking to get to that entrepreneur stage.
Okay, so far, like what my business consists of is mostly I'm trying to help a small business grow, and also I'm an artist on the side. So
your side hustle?
yes,
Side hustle.
I got this down now.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm trying to use everything. So like when I was growing up, I always wanted, okay, I'm going one day to own my own business. So from that, I started like learning a few things about like managing a small business. Like, oh, I need to learn how to do logos. I need to know how to make websites, apps, and all that. So now that's where I'm still like growing into making that. So using my art and design to put it all in. Oh, how can I make my own website and make my own app? Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so great, because the funny thing is you've already learned the biggest thing about being an entrepreneur is when you're opening up your own business for the first time, you have to do everything.
Yes.
And so you have to learn how to do all these different pieces. So I had to, whenever I did my business, learn how to do the website, which I'm colorblind, which makes it really hard to decorate. I just want to say. That's why it's mostly black and white, you know? And then, you know, you have to learn how to actually develop an app for our company. You know, we did a lot of different things that, you know, it's literally taking out the trash all the way through selling the business, you know.
Yes.
So you're already taking the right steps in that direction, because you know that usually whenever you're an entrepreneur, you also don't have a huge budget. So you have to figure out how to do things. So that's really cool.
I relate all the way.
So it sounds like you're taking your artistic side though and trying to put it in there, and that's the design part.
Yes.
And okay, so what do you want to do in your business?
Yeah, so that's the good part. So like my job is use that and help other businesses. So basically, I'm not the product; other people are. So someone has their own business they're trying to start. Oh, they're like, okay, this is my idea. So we get together and then let's work on your logo. Let's work on your website. Let's work on your app. Like all those. So I get to be the helper.
Kind of the helping other people with their entrepreneurship. So are you looking to, is that going to be your business, is to help people with their businesses, and is a specific focus on like the IT side? Is that?
It's all mostly on the internet part. So everything online.
Okay.
So help them like social media coaching, internet, trying to help them.
Internet of Things.
Yes, everything online. Help them online get better marketing and be out there.
Now, okay, so one of the things that is important to know about entrepreneurship too is one of the best or the most important things is really honestly your financials when you're running a business, because the simple fact is that you can all have a passion for what you do, but a passion doesn't really pay the bills unless you have the finances behind it. And that was a really hard lesson for me to learn, because I'm like, well, I've always worked hard, money comes. You work harder, more money comes. You get promoted, you da-da-da-da. Then you own your own business and you work 10 times harder than you ever worked in your life. And guess what? The money doesn't always come, because you have to manage things differently whenever you're actually having to go out there and ask for money or sell an item. So that's something to think about too. So if you're doing business consulting, you might want to like kind of hone in on the specific type of consulting that you're doing. And this is the same thing. And the reason why this is actually really important to this show on resumes is because if you listen to any previous shows, in networking and everything that you do whenever you're on a career search or wanting to open up your own business, it's really important that you have a focus, very focused approach. And so if you're going to sell your services out there, regardless if it's in your resume, regardless if it's, you know, just out there networking, but in order to get somewhere, you have to sell what you're doing specifically. So to really hone in on the focus of what you're doing is going to be really important, because if you say you're business consulting, well, it sounds like you have a specific niche in that, so you need to kind of really identify that, whether it's in your resume, which your resume would be kind of your website, if you will, or how you market yourself. That's your resume, because you're, you know, selling your services outside of networking. So you need to make sure you have a clearly identified approach of what you're trying to focus on. That doesn't mean you can't offer broader service items from that service. So if you do have some different type of marketing, like doing, you know, marketing is a huge topic. You know, you have, you know, internet marketing, you have paper marketing, you have, you know, like all different types of marketing. So, and I'm not even identifying what those are correctly. So if anybody's in marketing, I apologize. So, but, you know, so you have to really identify what are you specifically helping with. So it sounds like you have, and it's really on the internet side of marketing.
Yes.
If I'm hearing correctly. So that's the website, social media, apps, content.
Yeah.
Now, do you actually develop apps like from code?
Yeah, that's what
You're learning.
Yes, I'm learning. I've had
Okay.
like some programming classes, and yeah, so far I'm learning. I'm getting there.
Okay. So what is your website? Do you have one? Yeah.
Right now, okay, I don't have one, but I've been helping other people
Okay.
do theirs. So first of all, like I've been trying to let my business be the one that, so that I don't invest anything in my business. I'm trying to invest as much less as possible. So I've been they like help someone. Oh, they have like an event. I help them make an event flyer. They pay me for that, and then I use that maybe to like buy a better software. So like
Yeah.
everything while I'm have my day job, but then on the side.
So you're doing like a referral based business where you're getting, like, you're doing something for somebody, you get some money, then you invest that money in the business.
Yes.
So you're not investing like your personal funds in the business. That's a really great thing to do. I mean, that's a great way to grow it, especially funds are always limited. So that's a good way to, as long as you know that's going to be a slow progression, you know.
Yes.
So that's really cool. Okay. So do you have any thoughts on what he's talking about?
No.
Feel free to jump in.
Well, like for me, like I can relate in the fact it's like building your portfolio and pushing it forward, even when things don't feel like it's going the way you want it to, because you're like, oh, I have this dream and I want to get to it, but you're like, why is it taking so long?
Yes.
But at the same time, it's totally worth it. It's totally worth it by meeting all these people and that are willing to help. And you're just like, okay, everybody's telling me life is really negative, but I'm getting helped and people are really like willing to help mold you, and it's an awesome experience.
I'm telling you what, if you get out there and you start networking and you start showing what you have, there's going to be people that come in drones to help you. I mean, is it the right word, drones? No, and
it's not the Terminator. I don't know.
No, hopefully they're not drones coming to hurt you. But they're going to be droves. That's the word.
Okay, there you go. I got
like,
you.
Sorry. Anyways, so droves to help you. Like a lot of people will offer a hand to help you with your progress. Because believe it or not, I don't know where you heard it's a horrible or whatever, but it's like, it's a good world. There is people out there that want to help. I mean, more than you can imagine, and people actually like to help, and that's what I've seen. I can't tell you when I got out there and started networking and kind of talking about my concept and ideas, you know, how many people I wouldn't be anywhere without the people that have come into my life. And I could think a huge contribution to a gentleman by the name of Michael Carr. He literally was an ambassador for me everywhere I went. He made me step out of my comfort zone. I mean, there's a million people out there that will do that for you. And there's so many that I can contribute things to that have helped me progress in my career, internally to an organization and externally to owning an organization. So get out there and network is the best thing I can tell you, but continue what you're doing with helping certain people and then growing it, knowing that that's a slower process, but it's going to get you where you're going. And as you do that, it'll really help you define what you're doing, because you're also building skills. And sometimes when you're doing that, you got to do things a little bit for free, because if you're building the skill, you got to like, let me try to do that for you. Let me try to help you, you know, unless you're going to school for it. So, and are you still in school?
No, I graduated in May 2016.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I have a question on the fact of like with his approach is like he's helping everybody and he's kind of growing his business that way. With me, I feel like if I'm going to help everybody get their dream and what they want with logos and everything, because I've had loads of people who want me to make their logo, it's like, but where's there time for me when I'm going to work and I'm going in going to school, and then I'm helping other people achieve their dreams. Where am I getting?
Well,
You know.
so the thing is that here's the lesson in life is that for me anyway, I don't sleep. When you're trying to do all these things, it's hard on you. You have to just be very good at time management and prioritization. And so sometimes whenever you're wanting to go out, you may not go out because if you have a dream, so you're thinking of it in a perspective that you're helping other people with their dream, but in reality, you're learning the skills you need for your dream.
Okay.
So you are taking the steps that you need to build that dream.
Okay.
So you're really helping yourself by helping other people.
Okay.
It's kind of the reciprocity ring, if you will.
And I feel like the practice, like every
Every time you can get a chance to do something you want to do or learn to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, all the encounters you make in life, every person, like it's a different client, every person you're working with, you're learning a lot. So
Yeah.
you get to have all that practice to make you a better person.
In school, everybody should go to school. Everybody should get their degree. You learn a lot of things that are like the baseline of what you need to do. But the practical experience is so sometimes different. But actually, some of the school and the projects you told me about at your school is so amazing because it really is like that real life practical. But it prepares you for life. But then you actually are doing life at the same time.
Yeah,
so you're number one, you're going to do better in school because you're going to understand the real life practical pieces of it. I know, for example, when I went to school for my master's, it was so much different because I was actually doing the things that I was learning at the same time. So at least to say I had like a 4.0, but it was so much easier, but it made both things easier. The practical work made the school easier, but the school work was making the practical work easier. So it's good whenever you can mix those two and make kind of that holistic approach of learning.
Yeah.
On the job training or doing the job a lot of times is the practical part is what makes a difference. So
all the knowledge, all the knowledge will help you really make the practice better. Like you can't just do anything without like the background knowledge. So I feel like
this is true.
What the education does for you and help you.
It helps you prepare. It helps you to know how to meet deadlines. It helps you prepare to think a certain way, to use strategies, to prepare you for what the big picture is like. But the simple fact is the big picture is one thing, but every time you go into a different company, you start a different company, you go into a new industry, it's a whole new world every time.
Yes.
Different vocab, everything.
Everything's different. And so you want to learn the broad picture and be prepared for it. And that's what education does for you. I mean, it's amazing what it does for you. And it also shows that you have follow through and dedication too. And that's something that's really important to employers to see that, but then when you get to the real life practical part, you have to be prepared that it's never going to be what you expect it to be every time. And then the moment it is, it's going to change. But isn't the rest of life like that anyway?
Yeah, it is.
In reality.
Definitely learning that.
So we are going to hear a little bit more from Jean and Sydney. When we come back, we want to hear a little bit more about how you're taking what you want to do and putting it out there, or how you plan to do that from a practical perspective in terms of your resume or website or portfolio. And then we're going to go back over to Sydney. So we'll talk to you guys and learn more. I know everybody's excited when we come back. Okay. Now, you're still going to be heard on there, so just let you know. I think it's a funny song. It's a joke.
What is this, like in the 80s?
It's a job song.
It's what?
It's called the job song.
The job song?
Yeah.
Is this your song?
I found it on you.
I was like...
Since the whole show is about jobs, I thought it was kind of funny. What do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're like, nobody gets it but me, apparently, but I think it's funny.
It's a nice song.
Thank you.
I'm
But somebody said so.
I'm trying to absorb it because I'm trying to listen to music and then listen to you. So
Yeah,
I'm
I'm trying it down.
oh man.
Okay. So how do you feel everything's going?
Good.
Okay. Any questions or anything so far?
Just going to talk about the resume part now.
Yeah. So are you looking to do your resume specifically too, or like your general resume?
Yeah, I have a resume here.
Okay. So are you applying to positions too, or that's what I was trying to understand? Like, what is your real goal of like today?
Oh, yeah, help with resume. Because like,
Because I don't know if you're looking from the entrepreneur perspective, because you brought that up, so that's why I kind of twisted it that way, or if you're looking to do more of your resume for career
Oh,
part.
yeah. Resume for my day job.
Okay,
My
all right. So that's why I was like, okay, this is a twist, but we'll go with it. Yeah, which is fine.
Like, in my healthcare management.
Uh-huh.
So basically, like, yeah, the resume part.
I actually have a master's in healthcare management. Why? I don't know.
We all like healthcare, so it's good.
Yeah, we are all in healthcare.
I worked at a health insurance organization for a long time.
Oh, okay.
She's worked everywhere though.
No, I really haven't.
You really have it?
No.
It feels like it.
What
I've
did
done a
you-
little bit of everything, but I haven't worked everywhere.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's going to send this to
Or
me.
maybe that's just me.
I worked a lot of places too. And this past 2 years.
It happens.
Oh no, we need to get that. That logo is awesome. You need to get somebody to make your logo.
I have
That's a
one.
nice logo. I know you do. You say you don't like it.
No, I do.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
Some people don't like it.
Oh, I can't. Look at this.
So good.
No, that's not good. Did you see my face?
Someone tried to call me.
Okay, like this ain't gonna work.
No. Start playing the same song again. Come on.
Okay, so it's J2b radio.com.
Mm-hmm. Stands for Journey2Business.
And for me, I actually got a job yesterday. So thank you.
We still talk about prepare.
Okay. Well, you were talking about him with the entrepreneurial way. I was wondering.
We can talk about that too, but it's kind of like opposite the prepare.
Offices? Okay. Okay. I
We
get
can
you.
still, I mean, we'll tie it and you'll see.
Okay.
We'll get creative with this one. Come on, come on. Do you want to do me a huge favor?
Yeah.
Do you want to walk out and like walk out of the front door and there's a guy in that small room right there?
Yeah, yeah.
And just tell him that I'm sending it now. My internet connection didn't work. I thought I'd already sent it.
Okay.
If I can get it to him.
I'm gonna move the camera.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Okay. Get my hair back into place now. So you gotta watch this video of this.
Yeah, the one
Oh wait, no.
shared it.
You said what?
The one shared it.
Oh yeah.
Mr. Kwan. I have interest in Mr.
I'm gonna need you to like take a picture.
It's so dark now. Okay, too much.
come back on. About to come back on.
Okay. Millennials being on their phone.
Thank you for listening to our break. We are back with Journey2Business, your host Melissa Walker on Fishbowl Radio Network. So I just noticed on our break we had 2 millennials in here because they were all on their phones, and by the way, so was I. Not quite a millennial, but you know.
We'll
Close
accept
enough,
you.
Close
We'll
enough.
accept
Oh, thank you. See, is that part of the millennial way?
Yeah, I guess.
So again, this is Journey2Business on Fishbowl Radio Network. Your host Melissa Walker. Remember, this is a show of reciprocity. So what we are looking to do is include you as listeners into the show. So feel free to call in at 214-431-5032, or you can also send in referrals or send any questions that you may have into our website at www.j2bradio.com. This is a place where you can grow yourself, grow your business, and grow your career. And today we are talking about how you do all of those, actually. So grow yourself, grow your business, and your career. So we talked a little bit with Jean previous to the break, and we are back now. And we're going to move over to Sydney a little bit, and then we're going to start really pulling out these resumes and getting into the nitty-gritty of it. So fun stuff. But Sydney just informed me she got a job yesterday. So congratulations to Sydney. But we still want to help her with her resume and how to do the resume so she can have it in the future. So talk a little bit more about your goals and everything else.
My goals, my goal at the end of the day is to do what I love. Just to do what I love. Now finding what that goal is, like we said before, it's a little bit harder than you would think because I have so many interests and I meet so many people who have the same exact problem. So I guess one of my goals would be like to find that like idea of or ideal dream job, like, and to go after it because I love the art field and I love it, but like we said before, it's with making income.
Well, there's always, since you're a creative person, there's always creativity to put in there.
Yeah.
And here's the cool thing is that you don't have to limit yourself to what already exists either. That's the way you think about the world. So you got to think broadly. So what do I want to do? What do I enjoy doing? And how do I do that into a career? Like how do I turn that into a career? So don't limit based on what you see, because if you really want it, make it happen.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Well, see, because I'm such a people person, like I wouldn't mind collaborating with people. Like we talked about at Paul Quinn, we learned how to collaborate. So that was the college I went to. Yeah. I'm going back. They're awesome, innovative, love them. But you know, they teach you how to collaborate with people and use people's minds and that to mold the idea that you had this little dream into something bigger. Yeah. And it's absolutely amazing. So like with him, like we collaborate on ideas and it's like, okay, I don't feel as, how is it, unsafe. And I don't feel as like I'm the only one invested in that dream. Like, you know? That is cool. So you don't feel alone in it. And I like that. And collaborating with people, I mean, brings amazing things. Like hearing other people, you throw an idea out there and you're like, how do I do this? Well, the cool thing is that everybody's had different experiences out there. Everybody's had different, you know, realities, and they also think differently. So when you take all that and put it together, you can find some really amazing things. But here's what's even cooler about the world. You don't have to do the same thing forever. You can find one dream and go towards it and make it successful. And as you're doing that, you may find another path that you take that is another exciting dream. And as you grow, those dreams are going to change. And you have to be open to that and let that happen. Of course, making sure you're financially stable the whole time. But sometimes you have to work into, you know, a position that may not be ideal to get you where you need to be. And that's part of the process of just growing and developing. So you mentioned during the break, which is kind of funny, it kind of leads into exactly what you're saying. She's like, you worked everywhere, you know, and I haven't worked everywhere. I haven't done everything, but I probably will still try to do a little bit of everything. And that's, you know, just part of what you're saying. It's like, well, this wasn't my dream before, but as I found it, it became my dream. And I stuck with it and made it happen. And then it's time for the next dream, you know. And that's part of it too, is making sure you do stick with it, not, you know, veer all the time so you're not getting anything accomplished. You have to accomplish things still too. And sometimes the most tedious tasks are what are going to get you where you need to be. It's funny, I didn't ever think I planned personally. I didn't realize I did. And then I look back at life and I realized how much I actually had a plan and didn't even realize I was doing it. Because I actually wrote it down when I was a little kid even. And the funny thing is I always talk about how I never thought I was going to be an entrepreneur. But then I remembered, and this doesn't sound right, but it's true, that I made a deal with the ice cream man whenever I was a little kid to buy him bulk candy.
and then I would take it and go to sell it at school for normal price. Like I had this whole plan, and I forgot all about doing this. It's kind of funny. And even like as a kid, my dad, in order to give me a kiss on the cheek, had to pay me a quarter. And when my family borrowed money, I charged them interest. I forgot about these things I did as a kid, but I'm like, okay, maybe I was meant to own a business because I already had the mind going. But I never thought about that. Whenever, I started opening business, I'm like, I never wanted to open a business or run a business.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe I did, I just didn't realize it. But there was actually a plan out there, and everything that I've done has led me to the next step.
I can completely relate. So in high school, I was doing marketing, and I was like, why in the world am I doing marketing? I was just like, I'll try it. But that goes back to with me and art. When I was a kid, like everybody was like, Cindy's gonna be an artist, and I'm like, there's no way. Like, but it always goes back to something being creative.
Right.
And then on top of that, of marketing and connecting with people. So it's good to hear that somebody else kind of relates to that, because you're like, all right, I don't know what is the words we talked about yesterday? We talked about the same exact thing yesterday, that because somebody knows what you've been through, or like they've been through it themselves, what does it do?
It helps them understand you better.
So one of the things I always talk about, and this goes back with, life and growing and that kind of thing, is that my hardest times become my best times because they lead to the best thing that happens. So the hardest times and trials you face end up having the greatest experiences after. They lead to the best experiences. And to take those experiences and learn from them is very important. But what you're saying is, when I have those hard times, I often find that another friend or somebody I know ends up in the same boat I was just in, that I just dealt with, and now I can offer them help. So that's why getting out there and networking and getting to know people and getting that help is really important, because you're going to find people like you and I have just done that have gone through those experiences and know how to navigate that, and they can help you through it. You may not take the same path, but it's always good to hear what others have done, because who wants to reinvent the wheel? If there's a path through it, let's figure it out pretty quickly, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. The teamwork makes the dream work.
Exactly.
Nice. And sharing is caring, like the Care Bears.
Yeah, definitely.
I have to thank Shannon Little for that back in the Blue Cross days. So we had that as a motto on our team. So anyways, back onto the main subject. Resume. So, as you're doing those experiences, you're building your resume. And so we're going back on this topic. And then you want to have to reflect that out there. Because here's the thing is, so I don't know anything about you unless you tell me. I don't know you unless I meet you. So it's upon you to go out there and find those opportunities and do everything that you need to do and share those experiences in order to tell people your story. Okay? Now, I'm not going to go straight to the resume, because before we even get to the resume, we talked about this on other shows, but you have some soul searching to do before you can touch this resume.
Okay.
But the first question is, what do you want this resume to accomplish? Because if you don't know what you're trying to get, you can't reflect how to get it.
Okay.
Does that make any sense? I don't know if I said that exactly right, but if you don't know what you want to do, how are you going to tell people your story about how you would be good for it?
Yeah. Okay, so I can tell you right now where my mind frame was. It was like, I want a job. That's where it was, right? It wasn't on this dream path. It's like, I need a job to get income so I can get my dream. That's where it was. Now, what you just hit, I have absolutely no idea the answer to that question.
So what job do you want to get that's going to help you get to your dream? So what I'm saying is, if you're going to tell somebody that they want to hire you, if I'm a manager and you say, I just need a job.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I'm like, well, why am I going to hire her? I'll have somebody else that's got great skills and told me how they fit this job in my need. So that's why it's important to know what you're trying to accomplish. So you do know, because we talked about this the other day when we met, you want to be in healthcare because you've got that background and you want to leverage that background and get back into that. You like helping people. So you do know.
Okay.
You just don't know, That's what I'm here for now. So now on your resume, let me ask this. Are you reflecting what you're aiming for?
It's kind of complicated. My resume, it needs more. It needs more work.
Okay, so let's talk about this, because that's the thing. So the first thing you have to do when you're building a resume is pick the focus of the resume. What are you trying to accomplish? What job are you going for?
Okay.
That's why you can have multiple resumes, okay?
Yes.
You want to have a resume pretty much for every job you apply to.
Okay.
Reason being is because you want to adjust the resume to fit the specific job. Here's the thing. We all have a million things we've done in our lives. We've had experience and exposure to a lot of different things. When I'm hiring somebody, I want to know that they have the experience and exposure to what I need. So if I have a job description and you have a resume that's all over the place with all these different skills, and I'm like, okay, I'm confused. I don't even know what it's saying next. But if I see a resume that really is identified what I'm looking for, what my needs are, then that's going to be the person I want to talk to.
Mhm.
So by aiming for a certain direction and then looking at the job description, talking to the manager, what have you, and gearing your resume to reflect the skills that you do have, not made up ones, the ones you do have that meet the needs of the description. Okay? So we have heard people out there that don't do a resume, like they lie on there. Do not lie on the resume. I promise you I'd find out, but because we ask questions and different things that will help understand that. So you want to reflect the skills that you have, not that you can spell the word, that you can actually do the work.
Yes.
That makes sense. But again, the first part of a resume is picking the focus.
Okay.
Okay. If you put everything you've ever done in your life, you would have a 50-page resume.
Okay.
Do you want to throw spaghetti against the wall? I say this every show and see if it sticks, or do you want to actually know it sticks?
I want to know it sticks.
So that's the first thing. So let's talk about that a little bit more. And we're going to go with yours because we're kind of talking, and then I'm going to move over to your resume a little bit. So the main things you want to put on a resume, and let me kind of give a little caveat here. A resume is your way of reflecting your experiences and what you do. I'm going to give you advice on a resume. Everybody's going to give you advice, and everybody's going to give you different advice. Or they'll find something different, or it'll conflict. There is a mass majority of things that are in sync with what everybody says, but somebody's going to find something to change, I promise you.
Yeah, like different format.
With advice in the world, here's what I'm going to tell you now, and take this for what it's worth. Listen to everybody's advice and use your best assessment. I often tell people, they're like, well, you didn't listen to me. I'm like, no, I did listen to you, but I also listened to 40 other people, and then I took all that information and I made my best choice. So that's what I would tell you to do. So any advice I give you, or if somebody calls in or sends information in, or you go to another career help thing, just use your best assessment. Take what they say, understand, unless it's for a grade in college, just take it, and in real life, you do what you think is best because it's your way of reflecting yourself. So that's one thing that's really important to know. So the things that you want to do on a resume, number one is you want it to be appealing to the eye. Okay? These are just basic tips. Okay? So I mentioned this. It's like decorating. So when you have your bullets, you want to have bullets in there, by the way, because you don't want a big clump of information that somebody has to dig through. You want 3, 5. It's just like decorating. It's got to be appealing to the eye. It's got to be the odd numbers. So if you have a shelf and you put stuff on it, you got 3 things. You got 5 things. If you didn't know that, now you know that too. Does this make sense to you?
No, it does.
Okay. The old days of 1 page, if you don't have a lot of experience, it's going to be 1 page. If you have a lot of experience or you're an executive level, it's going to be more than 1 page. It's just the way it is. What you want your resume to do is very quickly be able to show and reflect how you meet the needs of the person. So however you make this to where they can look at it very quickly, they can see what they need to see and see that you're going to fit the job, that's what you need to do. You need to make sure you have the right grammar, punctuation, all that fun stuff in there. You need to have a summary. You need to have your education in there. If you're still in school, you put pending. Yeah, these are some very basic things. You know, you have certifications. Now, me personally, I'm always going to put education at the bottom. Unless I only have education, then it's at the top. You see, there are different ways of doing things with resumes. That's the complicated part. But you can always look online. There's functional resumes. There's chronological resumes. There's, I can't remember what it's called right now, but it's the mix, the combination resume. There's different types of resumes. So depending on what it is depending on which one you do. If I have somebody who has a background with maybe they job hopped a lot, or they haven't used skills in a while, then I usually suggest them doing more of a functional resume. And what that means is you put all the skills that you have at the top, and you just have the job titles at the bottom, and you don't put the bulk underneath it, because then it shows you have the skills, but it doesn't necessarily show that you haven't done it in 3 years. So it kind of shows, because a lot of times you still can't do that. So that's advice I would give for that. If you have just education, you want to put your projects in there to show and reflect the skills that you have. Because ultimately, when it comes to a career, you want to show your competencies. Your competencies you have, and you build them and you grow them. You have those from projects in school. You have those from, like what you said, the project that you did, learning the life skills and collaborating. You mentioned the one.
Oh, you're talking about at my old school.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what you're talking about, where he basically just threw us in groups and was like, okay, you're going to start a business plan, and we had to make it work.
Didn't you have to come up with a recommendation for the college every...
Oh, that one.
Yeah,
okay.
That was great.
Oh, okay. So every week we had to find a problem and solve it.
Mhm.
And
I mean, that's amazing because that's what life is finding problems and solving them. You may not try to find the problems, but they come and then you have to figure out how to solve them. So I love that. So they're teaching you those real life experiences. So we're going to talk a little bit more about resumes. We're going to get a little bit more to yours when we come back. We're going to take a quick break and learn exactly what you need to do on your resume to help you with your career process when we come back. Is all this making sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Am I jumping too much?
It makes sense, but at the same, it's a lot of information,
There's
so I
so much
zoned out.
information. Yeah. Okay, so I'll slow down a little bit.
Okay.
Um,
Because it all makes sense, because now for once, like, all the questions, everything you're saying is answering all the questions I've had the last, like, 6 years when it comes to resume.
so good. I'm giving some good advice here. Like,
Yeah, like,
no, I know it's so hard to think about what to say because there's so many things to say. That's the fun part.
well, a lot of people approach it, though, in just one facet. Like, it's like, oh, this is how it's done, this is how it's done. And then so when you go to different career fields, you're like, how?
Yeah, this isn't working.
Yeah. Or why do you see it differently than this person did? So having it to where there's like, this is the reason for it, and then you can approach it in the way you want to, makes more sense to my brain.
Yeah, well, because you're gray, like black and white gray, you need to be a little bit more
Black and white?
gray. Stay gray.
Stay
You know
gray.
why? Because what you do is you adjust for the best scenario.
Yeah.
Or each scenario you adjust based on the best results.
Yeah, the job you want and the job you're looking for.
Now, it's not bad to be black and white because, like, if you're in a compliance position or something where you
Mhm.
have to follow the letter of the law, it's good to be black and white, but there's careers for it.
Well, so yeah, that's the thing too, is like when it was in school, everything was black and white, so I adjusted to that. But going to regular life, you're
Which is
like,
a problem with schools, but that's not one.
yeah. Well, going to regular, like, even with me, I'm gray in the way of like how I treat people. Like, I go with their tone and I go with their
Exactly.
flow and stuff. But when it comes to like this, and I'm like, anything that it deals with writing, it's like, tell me how to do it so I can do it and I can get it done. Well, you give me that gray, and now it makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, you want to do the same thing with conversations. It's all about reflecting and communicating.
Mhm.
So how do you best get to them? However you best see fit to get to them. I mean, that's really the reality. I mean, you have to make sure you follow certain parameters like grammar,
Yeah.
the look, the feel. You have to follow some things. But I mean, there's video resumes out there. I don't know if you've seen them, but people do that now.
Oh wow.
I mean, there's a lot of different options now. A lot of companies, for different reasons, due to legalities, don't like video resumes as much. But I remember one time I saw one. Oh my gosh, it was so funny. Oh God, at the end of it, he was a Star Wars or something fan. And he does like, what is this?
You mean Star Trek?
Star Trek. Yeah, sorry. I knew it was
No,
Star
you're cool.
something.
I don't like
Yeah,
Star
and he's
Trek.
like, and whatever he says with this, he's like, does this at the end. I'm like, oh my God, I love this kid. We need to hire him actually. Because it's just innovative thinking, and it was a developer position where you need to have some innovative thought. And I was just like, we've got to hire. And I sent him off to everybody. I've lots of them out to managers because of that approach, something different. So you never know.
That's kind of what you're saying. Kind of reminds me of yesterday. We watched that gentleman that was on your show last week, and we were like, it's so straightforward to the point. But I was like, you're not selling anything. Like, it's passive marketing.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, how can we make this funny?
Yeah.
And we had a good time with it. It took us a little bit longer, but it was fun.
We loved your little video.
That's awesome.
Okay, we're about to go back.
Okay.
We only have like 6 minutes. Time flies when you're having fun, so we are going to get back to it. Everybody, thank you for listening in to Journey2Business Radio Show with Melissa Walker as your host. Again, you can call in anytime at 214-431-5032. Please call in. We'd love to have some input in from our audience and listeners. Again, you can also send in referrals or information to www.j2bradio.com. Tripped over that a little bit for a second. All right, we had some great conversation while we were on break. So to kind of sum up, what can you sum up from our conversation over break? See, we're doing practicing school skills here.
Yeah. So sum up is that everybody has a different opinion how to do a resume, and like you said before, it's taking all those ideas and saying, okay, what works for me best in this situation.
Mhm.
That's basically the summary of what we were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's like how you communicate. That's what we said. How you communicate with people is how you communicate. You communicate with writing. You communicate with speaking. So what you're saying is you have a person, you understand how they communicate best, and so you adjust for it. Well, the resume is the same thing. How are you best going to reach that person? Sometimes you don't know the person. That's a problem. Like job description. So how do you best reach them with that? What you know. Do the best you can with the information you have because you only know what you know, right?
Right.
So some other things that are some pretty big tips. I notice on your resume you have bullet points and you have just like 1 word or 2 word with it. And I don't know if we can do this. We'll put this online, what the resume looks like, because that's not going to work. But yeah. No. This is never a criticism. Constructive criticism, maybe. But what it is learning on how to do things. And
I was making a Game of Thrones joke, and you don't know. It's okay.
yeah, I've seen like one of those episodes.
It's okay.
Millennial. Why do I have millennials on this show? I need to get people my own age. Okay, so the thing about that is whenever you're putting the information on there, again, you're trying to show people that you have the skills that they need, that you're going to be the most effective in the job. You want to show your passion through that. So when you're trying to put the things on there, the main things you want to put is the big things. When this company hired you, whatever company you worked for, what impact did you make to that company by being there? That may be leading a team. That may be huge project where you save the company millions of dollars. That may be, whatever it is. It's more impact. So if you put day-to-day duties, most people know if you were a nurse what you did as a nurse. Now you may want to put the specific department you were in so they know that. That's important for that role. But what impact did you make? Increase the volume of patients by providing higher level care. I mean, whatever it may be. If you're in healthcare management, it's, created a better process that allowed us to what have you. You see where I'm going with that? It's what impact did you make? So if you just go in there and you do everything daily, then okay, put what you did daily. That's all you can put. But you want to make an impact in every role, right? So what impact did you make? How did you make a difference by being there? And how would you make a difference by going to the next company? So things I always put in there is if you have a budget management, which is probably not happening right now, if you did any supervisory or like leadership roles, even if you led a project, if you led an initiative, those are things that you've done. I mean, even if it was like changing more bedpan, I mean, it doesn't matter, or creating a better process for something that you did that was impactful to that organization. People management's important, budget's important, impact. That's what you want it to be. You can sometimes put like a little section above, like underneath it, that says, here's a daily role, like did this is what my job title means, and then you put impact.
Okay.
But it's more accomplishments and projects that you want to have the focus of. Does that make sense? Now the key thing to resumes also, huge important fact, is if I want to be found by a recruiter, if I'm posting online or applying online, keywords are huge and important. Why? Because every software out there that I know of, if I'm looking for a resume or doing something where I'm looking for a candidate, if I'm a recruiter and all I know about a job is the keywords that I can read in there, because I don't know, I haven't talked to the manager maybe, I always did, but a lot of times they don't know that much about a job. They're looking at keywords. That's how you search online, that's how you read them. So you want to make sure you have prime keywords written in there somewhere. If you're an IT person, for example, you want to have all the softwares that you've touched and different things in there, because that person that's hiring may be looking for just those words. Now, obviously, when you get to the manager, it's a little higher level. They know more about the skills and ask more questions. They can read into it because they understand how it all fits together. But if you're just looking to get found on the internet or online, you want to have keywords in there. Questions? I'm going to go ahead and do that because I'm going to go all over the board if I continue to talk about resumes.
So I was taught that it's like active verbs is like the way you're supposed to start a resume. Is that basically what you're trying to?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, I'm saying more so like if you have a certain technology you touch or a certain, so say you're the only person that ever touched Java, you want Java on your resume. Or if you're the only person that uses a certain software to input patient records, you want to reflect that software.
Okay.
If you had a specific niche skill, whatever it may be, like you want to make sure that's in there. Okay. Does that make more sense?
So you want to make sure that's in there, but you also want to make sure it kind of fits that job description that you're applying for.
Yeah, so if you see key things, so if I'm looking at a job description, so we have one right now for a heavy equipment operator. Actually, let me switch that. Right now with the sidekicks, I wanted to mention this anyway, we are looking for some interns. And I'm looking for some specific types of interns, one of which is somebody who's got PR experience. So I need to find somebody. Number one, I'm going to look for somebody. If I'm searching, I'm going to look for PR. Okay, that's a key word.
Yes.
Okay, you know, technical writing or whatever. Ability to think fast. I'm going to be putting these specific keywords. Intern. I want to know if they want to be an intern.
Yes.
If I'm looking for a certain college or a certain thing, whatever the keyword is I need for that job is what I'm going to be going online and put this or this or this, and that's how I'm going to find the person.
Mhm.
Make sense?
It makes sense, yeah, because I have a friend who's an engineer who just got his master's degree and he's trying to find a job. And he was saying the same exact thing with the keywords. And now they have on the computer, data searches. So the person doesn't even have to look at it anymore. They just look for those keywords and filter it.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to know more about how that goes, go to Indeed.com, for example, okay? Go into the employer section and just go search resumes. You can do this for free and just see what a recruiter actually does to find your resume. That would give you a huge insight on how that's done. So that would help you with what I'm trying to specifically explain.
Okay.
Is they look at a job description, they look at words that match, and then they go with it. So, any other questions? Because we have to wrap up. We are at the end of our show, and maybe we need to do another resume writing one because we've got a lot more to talk about, I think.
I always thought about how to mess, because some people they have 1,000 people pull, and then they will put all the resumes in some kind of software
Yeah, so there's an
software.
ATS tool. It's called Applicant Tracking System. So we get a ton of resumes in when people apply, and we literally have to look at each one. So they have keyword matches that do it for you. They have some softwares that do that. Or you literally look at each resume, and you really do get about 5 to 10 seconds of you. That's why it's very important to highlight the main important things on your resume that fit that job. Hence why you want multiple resumes.
So
But that's not the best way to apply to a job,
Yes.
which we talked about this on previous shows. What I always teach people is how to become the referral. So I know you have more questions, but we do have to wrap up. So just one more statement, and then we're going to go. Go ahead and give one last thing, something you learned today, something you need to know still. Do a little dance, whatever you need to do. Let's give one final.
This has been a very knowledgeable conversation, and it has helped me a lot. I'm ready to apply everything we've been learning.
Okay. Well, I'm sure there's a lot more, and we can definitely talk after the show, but we'll get some more information out there to our listeners as well.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I'm just thankful that somebody approaches it differently. They look at it from a broader perspective. So thank you. And you're approaching it into the way I feel like you did better understanding.
Yeah.
So I just appreciate it because I like to understand. So
yeah, I look at the whole world with always big picture, and then I narrow it down. It's like, what is the broadest way I can look at this to make it work? And then I narrow down how I make it work. So you always should think big picture. I tell people about how to look for a job. Where do you want to work? Because remember, that's the first decision. It's not who's hiring, it's where do you want to be? How do I get there? So thank you again, Melissa Walker, Journey2Business. Next week, we are doing interview techniques, fun and exciting. So make sure you tune in, and we will talk to you next Thursday at 11. Remember, life is limitless. Are you ready to own your journey? The end.
The end. The way the voice, though. The end.
The end. I wanted to remember what that says, what that means, so I could say it on there. We are still Facebook Live, though, so you know.
Oh.
So do you want to do a final dance or statement for Facebook?
I need music if I'm going to get a dance.
Hold on, here we go.
Oh, no. Is this job?
Oh, wait. Music.
She's going to hit me with some, music I have absolutely no idea.
I don't know what that music is, but go ahead and do your final dance.
That's not a final dance. This is the moment you pull out the dice and you throw it on the table or just. You're not gonna dance with me. I'm offended.
Do it quick before I close it out.
You gonna do a dance? No, you're not gonna do a jig.
We're doing a dance.
You can do like the guys.
Yeah.
I want a voice like that radio voice.
Oh, yeah.
But then I hear people with radio voices sound like it all the time. It